mature and grown up about it and not use real names. So his initials are Anthony Camerata. Anyone out there to think that I'm still bitter after all these years? But baby, I'm still bitter after all these years. His nickname was Tigger. Yes, that's right. I fell for a boy who was named after a cartoon character who spent all day laughing and bouncing around on his ass, which pretty much described Anthony. I was 20 and he was 3 weeks older than I was, so I felt that I was getting involved with a mature, older man. I think at that point in time, I had to be the stupidest boy alive. Mature, that bastard played with my emotions for almost a year. I would spend long hours on a Greyhound bus going to visit him in Chicago just to come all the way back home and spend all my time and energy pining away for him. It was a horrendous time of my life, made even worse because I was fighting with my parents. I had reached the wonderful age where I felt that I had become an adult. What I had become was intolerable. My parents had no idea that I was dating a boy, let alone a boy that was making my life an emotional train wreck. All they saw was that I was drained and exhausted. I found what I thought was the greatest love of my life, and I couldn't tell anybody about it. Spending all that time in Chicago also made me realize how small my hometown was. And that's what Tigger saw in me. A small town kid who didn't understand how big city relationships worked. He saw me as a threat to his independence. He saw that I was ready to give up my friends and family to be with him, and he got scared. I thought life was grand because I felt validated, because I had a boyfriend. An exotic boyfriend who took me places and showed me grown-up things. Now that I look back, it's not so much that I wanted to be with him, but I wanted to be him. We reached the seven-month mark of our relationship, and I use the word relationship very loosely, around Christmas time. I just wanted to ring in the new year with him, so I arrived in Chicago 2 days after Christmas. That night, he took me to a romantic little park that overlooked Lake Michigan and was covered in snow. Then, that demon bastard spawned from hell dumped me. And to add insult to injury, because I guess I wasn't smart enough to realize we were breaking up, he took a stick and drew a picture in the snow of what was going on. This is me at the crossroads. This is me going on by myself from that crossroads. You see, I'm at a huge junction in my life and I can't support you right now. You're ready to give up your friends and family to be with me and I just can't handle the pressure. Well, I took the stick and drew a picture too. This is my heart. And listen, you're throwing my heart to pieces with your pointy and sharp Satan loose, you selfish fuck! I personally thought my picture was better both artistically and dramatically. Then he got a call and left me, alone and crying on that snowy Chicago night. What a little chicken shit. I couldn't believe it. The only boyfriend that I ever had dumped me. He was wrong. I wasn't just some small town kid who didn't understand how big city relationships worked. I had found this beautiful, tall, sexy Italian boy who, besides all of his major character flaws, was perfect. I remember leaving that night on that horrible Greyhound bus, thinking to myself, I was leaving behind my greatest, my only love. Life was a giant race, and once again, poor pathetic me was being left behind at the starting gate. But he was right about one thing. How could he date someone that was willing to give up everything just to be with one person? I had lost myself completely in him. I wasn't ready, and I had to grow up. The things that I looked for in another person were the things that I couldn't find within myself. The beauty, the warmth, and the love. I didn't love myself, so I tried to find that love in the form of Anthony. And if I had learned anything from Jane Seymour, Nancy McKeon, Valerie Bertinelli, Tori Spelling, and the rest of the Lifetime movie network, is that those kind of relationships never worked. Anthony wasn't all bad. He was a catalyst. He gave me my first big kid emotion. Heartbreak. And boy, the heartbreak was real, the pain was real, it was all too real. This boy that I had spent all my time and energy in wanted nothing to do with me. I felt that I was too fat, too ugly, too everything to deserve to be happy. I knew that I had somehow deserved this pain. But life went on. Not because I wanted it to, but because it had to. All I had left were misty water-colored memories Yes, that's right. I just compared a poignant part of my life to a Barbra Streisand song. Please note that at an earlier part of the show, I stated I'm a Mo as an homosexual, and the proof was in that stereotype. I was moody, I was mopey, and I was irritable. I had just spent all this time and energy in someone that just wanted nothing to do with me. It got to a point that any time a word that began with an A or T would come out of my mouth, my friends would fall to the floor into the fetal position and beg for me to stop. But I did eventually get over it. And then, this year, 9 motherfucking years later, like a hitchhiker on the back of the roads of life, that dumb bastard in his pickup truck of confusion comes barreling down and hits me out of nowhere. He calls me. He wants to talk. He needs to become friends and see what's been going on in my life. I've somehow become the 11th step in his 12-step program. He was now married to the man of his dreams. Wow. What do you say to the boy you fell hard for when he tells you that he has found happiness and contentment in the form of another man? There's only one mature grown-up thing to say. Congratulations! I mean, really, what did he expect me to say? I'm so happy for you. How was the ceremony? Where did you register? Who was the bride? I am so happy that you have moved on with your life, and I have remained brokenhearted, and you have found true love, and all I have is 100 fucking extra pounds of fat, a metabolism that has come to a complete and obvious stop, and a chance to stand in front of a room of people and scream out into the dark night that you're a motherfucking cock-sucking dumbass son of a bitch. But by no means am I bitter. And then he apologizes. He apologizes for everything that he did and everything that he didn't do. How can you stay angry and hostile with someone after that? Easy. You remember that 6-hour Greyhound bus ride home crying, sitting next to a very odd man by the name of Beulah, who refused to put his shoes on and whose feet smelled mysteriously like Frito-Lay corn chips. And you remember the pain, and you remember the tears, and you remember the crying, and you walk away from T.I. forever. He will always be my first love and my first heartbreak. And when I become a male subject of a Lifetime sentiment portrait, his name will come up. I can just picture it. Me looking youthful and sitting ever so elegantly in my overstuffed chair. Then the camera does a close-up of me, then cut to a picture of me and him together, then cut to a picture of me crying with mascara running for dramatic effect. And then back to a picture of me. A voiceover will say, "This brave and talented young man has faced his share of heartbreaks, but there is always one that brings a tear to his eye, his first love." And then Meredith Vieira will ask, "She's the host. So, what about this mysterious Anthony Camerata, a.k.a. Tigger? What was it like after he left you, alone and crying on that snowy Chicago night? He's a bastard. And our viewers want to know, how did you become the brilliant, strong, amazingly attractive, and talented young man that sits before us? Is there any words of advice that you can give to our viewers just tuning in after Golden Girls?" And then for more dramatic effect, I slowly dab the corners of my eye, take a deep breath, look into the camera, and give the answer that will earn me one of many Daytime Emmy Awards. Well, Meredith, when I was younger, my grandmother took me into her frail arms after I had just gotten into a fight with a neighbor boy. She saw that I was hurt, and she saw that I was upset. She took me onto her lap, nestled me close, and gently rocked me back and forth as I fell asleep. As I lay there in her lap, near sleep, tears freshly dried on my face, she leaned close and whispered something that would help me get through another heartbreak when another boy would hurt me years later. I can still hear her whispering those words of wisdom into my ear. She said, "Buttercup?" Because that's what she calls me, Buttercup. She said, "Buttercup, fuck 'em!"